Washington is once again putting all options on the table with Iran, including military action. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo reiterated his belief in Tehran's direct involvement into an attack on oil tankers in the Gulf of Oman.
The American people should rest assured we have high confidence with respect to who conducted these attacks, as well as half a dozen other attacks throughout the world over the past 40 days. We are confident that we can take a set of actions that can restore deterrence, which is our mission set.
You say a full range of options. Does that include a military response?
Of course.
Iran, in turn, vehemently denies any involvement, branding America's statement sabotage diplomacy. The United States earlier released what it claims to be evidence of Tehran having a hand in the attack, including a video which allegedly shows an Iranian crew removing an unexploded mine from one of those tankers. Further, it seems America's closest allies in the region are all on the same page right now, too, over it. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince says he's ready to deal with any threat posed by Iran. And Israel's also joined the chorus, with the country's Prime Minister praising Washington's firm stance towards Tehran during an opening ceremony of a new Jewish settlement named after Donald Trump. Amid the saber-rattling too, Russia now chipped in and warned the US against finger-pointing. Moscow cited the invasion of Iraq back in 2003, when false evidence was used to justify military action.
We didn't forget the vials with white powder. We remember and therefore have learned to show restraint in our assessments. We call upon sober assessments and wait for some credible evidence to be presented. It's ridiculous to cite secret data in this case.
And it seems Washington could be, once again, trying to find a pretext to wage war, as RT's Igor Zhdanov explains.
Donald Trump is not a president known for policy consistency. But one thing no critic can take away from him is his apparent burning hatred for Iran.
Everywhere we go in the Middle East, it's Iran, Iran, Iran. Spread death, destruction, and chaos. Behind every problem is Iran. A very dangerous player, very bad player. Iran's leaders sow chaos, death, and destruction.
And with guys like Mike Pompeo and John Bolton pushing Trump to squeeze that trigger, it seems a war could be looming. But thank God it can't be just the president's call. A thing like this needs Congress approval. On paper, except really it doesn't.
We were absolutely presented with a full formal presentation on how the 2001 AUMF might authorize war on Iran. Yes, I'm sorry, sir. Secretary Pompeo said it with his own words. He did not say, I want to go to Iran and I'm going to use 2001. He referenced a relationship between Iran and al-Qaeda.
There's a convenient loophole that can help them, and it's something called AUMF. AUMF stands for Authorization for Use of Military Force Against Terrorists, a long name. But basically, it allows the US to attack any country that has ties to al-Qaeda. This has already been used in Iraq and Afghanistan. And if you look hard enough, terrorists can be found everywhere. In the past few months, Iran has been turning into a more and more of an al-Qaeda haven, according to Washington.
For 40 years, the Islamic Republic's Revolutionary Guard Corps has actively engaged in terrorism.
The world's leading state sponsor of terrorism.
The Iranian regime's use of terrorism as a tool of statecraft makes it fundamentally different from any other government.
They're a nation of terror, and we won't put up with it.
All aboard the militaristic bandwagon. It is the best chance the hawks on Capitol Hill have had in years. Up until now, Trump has been more or less true to his promise to curb his country's military adventurism, being all bark and no bite.
As a candidate for president, I loudly pledged a new approach. Great nations do not fight endless wars.
And while there's literally more verifiable evidence that would allow Saudi Arabia to be bombed into oblivion under AUMF, the Saudis are the good guys in Washington's playbook.
They, of course, outright deny all such claims of involvement with extremists.
They're America's greatest ally in the Gulf, which also happens, just like Trump, to hate Iran with a passion.
Starting a war with Iran, it would be unlike any other war that the United States has engaged in before abroad. That would be a conflict that in some ways might be worse than Vietnam. It certainly won't be Iraq. The problem is that Pompeo and Bolton are in charge of foreign policy. I don't think Trump really has the details in hand. It's like he's a rider on the horse, but he doesn't have the reins. And of course, they will use this tool, the authorization without Congress, based on terrorism, because they will present whatever Iran does in the Persian Gulf or elsewhere as an act of terrorism. That is the best way these days to get Americans behind an attack.